What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy Goblin, and today we're coming in with a fucking banger. Hope you guys do enjoy this video. Drop a like if you do. Couple things I want to mention before I dive in. First and foremost, a lot of you guys are going to be wondering, where's the cool thumbnails? Where's the ones that look good? YouTube has been removing a lot of thumbnails from my videos, and when YouTube does this, it doesn't give a strike on your channel, but it also doesn't notify you. So I figured I'm not going to have my designer go to the effort to make these thumbnails just to get them removed, because it happens to quite a lot of them. So fuck that. That sucks. I don't want that to happen. So for the time being, I'm just going to kind of whip up my own half-assed thumbnails until this stops happening. I'm just kind of waiting for it to blow over, because it's been happening quite a bit lately. But otherwise, beyond that, the next thing I do want to mention real quick shout out to Higgs on Instagram, at HIQQS. It's not G's, it's Q's in place of the G's for the at name. Link will be in the description. Username is on the screen. Go follow her. Let me tell you, if you're not 18 and you're not a straight male, then you might want to follow a little less, but if you're like a straight male and you're over 18, the content on here is A1. I can't put it on the screen because I want to stay monetized, but I think you catch my drift. Just go follow that Instagram account. Also, third and final thing I want to mention before I dive in here, I apologize for not uploading for quite a few weeks here. Honestly, RuneScape has just consumed me, and then on top of that, Battle for Azeroth just came out, so like shit's just going down. Shit's going down in my life, but either way, let's dive right into it. So, my first time smoking Reclaim. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, Reclaim is basically when you got a rig and you just smack fucking dabs out of it for a long time. And as you do that, over time, you'll kind of notice just little bits of leftover wax building up in that rig. Reclaim is when you kind of get that out of your rig and then you smoke it like it's regular wax. That's essentially exactly what it is. So, at this particular point, this happened a long time ago. This was probably 3 years ago. And I don't remember if I was in late sophomore or early junior year. I know I was still pretty young. I was definitely like 16, I think. And I remember at this point, I'd had this shitty little rig that I got at this like really shady tobacco shop near me. I don't know why I call it shady, but it kind of is at the same time. They're just always up to some shit. And I got this shitty little rig, and I paid maybe $30 for the whole thing, including the nail, and that's like with the store markup price, so God only knows what like piss poor like 10 yen price they paid for that thing. But either way, I had this rig for a little while, and I was one of those guys at the time, and I still am, I prefer smoking bud to dabbing. It's just, I like the act of rolling a blunt or, smoking a joint or packing a bowl as opposed to just smacking a dab. It lasts longer and I get to enjoy it for longer, And I've been like that ever since I started smoking. But, I would occasionally here and there pick up some wax if my plug had some, just for the occasion, So over the span of maybe 3 months or so, this rig had built up some pretty good reclaim just waiting to happen in there. Just some shit waiting to go down. Like, I'm talking big time. And I don't recommend you do this because it's kind of disgusting and I feel like fucking Bow Wow whenever I smoke reclaim. But I don't know, man. Sometimes you just struggle hard. And at this point in my life, I was fucking struggling hard, boys. So, this rig was so shitty that probably about a month and a half into owning it, I had a pretty good torch, right? I got my torch on Amazon. I paid like 20-something bucks for it. I really invested probably more into the torch than I did for the rig, which is kind of sad. And that backfired on me pretty hard because about a month and a half into owning the rig, the nail and part of the Nectar Collector, because how this rig was built is you have the nail, right? And then the stem of the nail like goes down directly into a Nectar Collector. I call it a Nectar Collector, but fucking Reclaimer, whatever you want to call it. Just a little spot where all your fucking reclaim can just pour right down, just drip right into. So this piece had one of those. And as I was using it one day with my torch, the nail and part of the Nectar Collector just broke off. Like literally the glass just broke. And I was just like, oh shit. But I didn't really dab enough to like justify buying a whole new piece. I was like, I can't quite just put a new nail on there because more than the nail broke. Like the glass on this was really thin. Like I don't know how the fuck they thought this thing was okay to sell, but it was a piece of shit. But, not only was the glass really thin, it was just like, it didn't hit very well either. But it had a fat fucking nectar collector. So after the nail in the top part of the nectar collector broke off, I kept using it. What I would do is just torch the top part, like the tip top of the glass of the nectar collector that was still remaining, and just smack my dab against it and dab off of that. And as a result of that, since I wasn't heating from the bottom, there was just a shit ton of resin that built up. Or not resin, reclaim, excuse me. There was just a fuck ton of it that built up over time because I was just stupid and lazy. And finally, maybe 2 months had passed since my nail had broken. I'd just been consistently hitting it like this. And, I ran into quite the struggle. All you guys out there could probably relate. I had dick for money. I had no weed. And I had a shitty day, and all I wanted to do was get high. So I was like, all right, there's only one thing I can do. And I've always been a strong advocate of just being patient and not doing, like, crackhead shit with your weed. Like, don't smoke roaches. Don't fucking pick up, like, floor weed. Don't, be scrounging around for, like, just don't do crackhead shit with weed. And I personally think Reclaim... It's not as bad as any of the other, like, resin or any of those other methods of, like, really stretching your weed, but it's still a little on the, like, crackhead side, on the bow wow side, So I was strongly against it, but I had a shitty day and I needed it. So what I did is I just fucking emptied out the water straight out of the rig, flipped it over, and just held a lighter to the very bottom of the nectar collector and just let it slowly drip out onto a little plate. I didn't have any wax paper, and I couldn't really do it on, like, any other surface because it would stick like shit. I figured with a plate, I could just wash it off, which I did. So, a little tutorial here, I guess, as well. All I did was just light the bottom of the nectar collector and wherever else I could find the resin. Tip it upside down, light it for like 2-3 seconds at a time, and then stop, just let it drip, because when you start to hear it crackle, that means you're just fucking burning the shit out of your Reclaim and ruining it. And then I just put it in the freezer and waited and pulled it out, and there you fucking go. I had some Reclaim. Now, let me tell you, this shit looked like just pitch black, just darkness. If you picture, like, sadness as like a being, like as some sort of form, this is like sadness, just looking at a Reclaim dab. Because it's just so stinky. It's just so dark and gross and ugly. It looks like poop wax, but worse. It's just, man, you don't feel good about yourself going into this scenario, let me tell you. So I scrape up a nice little dab. As a result of how long I've been dabbing just straight out of a nectar collector, I'd say I probably got maybe like a little under half a gram of Reclaim out of this, which I blew through pretty quick. But, this was kind of my first time actually reclaiming on my own. This is my first time, like, really doing it. I'd probably hit some fucking Reclaim dabs with a friend that I didn't know about because we were poor and struggling and fucking idiots and crackheads as well, just to tie it all together. But, also, I don't know. I considered this my first time, even though it technically probably wasn't. But either way, I didn't have a dabber either. This is how hard I was really struggling. I used a little knife as my dabber because I couldn't find, like, anything better to use. I just picked out a knife and was just like, fuck it. This is my dabber and my carb cap. So, all I did was just smack them off that same fucking nectar collector that I literally just reclaimed it from. And let me tell you, for those of you guys who haven't experienced it, taking a Reclaim dab, it's like dabs already punch your lungs, right? Regular wax already hits your lungs pretty hard. But when you take a Reclaim dab, right, it's like you literally are inhaling your, like, poorness. Like, you're inhaling your struggle. Like, you feel like poverty in your lungs as you fucking inhale that shit. It's terrible. Like, it just tastes like dirt. Not really, but it tastes bad. Like, it just has that really, like, burnt, crispy taste to it that's just fucked. It's like, I mean, really, like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, you know what a burnt piece of bread Like those guys like burnt French toast, for example. It's like burnt French toast just with wax smeared on it. So it has that kind of like weed taste to it, but it mainly just tastes like burnt toast. So it's a very hard to describe kind of taste, but I smacked this thing and let me tell you, I scooped a pretty fat one. I scooped a pretty big glar because I didn't really estimate. I didn't care to look into the potency or anything. I didn't Google anything. I was just like, fuck it, I don't even know if this is gonna work, but we're gonna find out. And normally when you look it up, you'll see all these guides of people saying like, oh, you gotta run alcohol through your piece to get the reclaim and all that shit. I just didn't care. I literally was like, whatever the fuck that is on the side of the glass right there, I want to fucking smoke it. Like, I literally did not do anything to, like, clean or fucking cure, whatever you want to call it, any of the reclaim. I just scooped it up, put it in the freezer, and smacked that shit. I was a fucking crackhead. But either way, so, back on topic here. Let me... I feel like it's probably a placebo effect because you're like just so desperate to get baked by the time you're doing this. But I always feel like I get higher when I'm doing some like struggle shit with weed, just a little bit. And on this particular instance, I remember getting completely fucking blown back. I took this fat ass reclaimed tar dirt dab and it felt like, oh man, it felt like Thanos just pulled up and his hand had like M16s at the end of each of his fucking fingertip. And he shot me with every single one of them and then punched me. And then used the Infinity Gauntlet and punched me again. And just fucking disintegrated any hope of surviving. Just fucked my shit up. And I only needed this one. I saved the rest of my reclaim. I feel kind of guilty saying this, and I feel kind of ashamed as well. But I did save the reclaim, and I went back for round 2 later that day, and round 3 the next day. I cleared it pretty quick, though. But, either way, I remember going back inside, because I'd try to dab in my garage if my parents weren't home, just because sometimes it got a little stinky in there. And, I remember going back inside, and just sitting down on my computer, and I don't know. I mean, at least for me, my favorite thing to do when I'm really baked is just sit down and watch YouTube videos. I don't know. There's just something about that I fuck with pretty heavy. So I sat down, and I always know that I'm really high when I start watching National Geographic and I start watching like documentaries. And let me tell you, I was learning so much. On this particular day, after this fucking trash ass, welfare ass, bow wow ass fucking reclaim dab, I was all over National Geographic. I was looking at ancient aliens. I was doing crazy shit. Not ancient aliens, but something about aliens on National Geographic. And then there was something about whales or some shit, like great whites hunting shit. I was watching everything. I remember I still kind of do this, but I was really binging those documentaries for hours. That's literally all I did the whole high. Like, there's no more story for you guys because I would just be describing copyrighted National Geographic content that would totally get me demonetized. So either way, that's all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Drop a like if you did. Sorry for the late night upload. Unless you guys are in like the UK or some time zone where this makes sense, then what's up? But either way, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.